Why would anyone want to live in an apartment? In a building where you share walls and common areas, and you might even have to interact with other people sometimes. This has come up in a few recent videos where I get comments like this. Why would I downgrade from a house to an apartment? Apartments don't really count as homes. For most people, a detached single-family home is a higher standard of living. My point in those videos was not that it's wrong to live in a standalone house, but we are way too dismissive of other types of housing. Apartments don't really count as homes? Come on. So in this video, why would anyone want to live in an apartment? A lot of people balk at apartments because they don't like the idea of renting. I personally think that buying has more disadvantages than people realize. Taking out a big loan and locking it all into one asset in one housing market is actually not always the best idea financially, even if you can afford it. But I get that there are valid reasons to want to buy, especially if you know that you're going to live in a place for a while. Fortunately, you can buy apartments. There's nothing inherent to this structure that says that it can only be rented. In fact, these are condos, apartments that you can buy. Here's a listing: condo for sale. The idea that apartments can only be rented is especially common in the US, where rules around financing and liability for developers make condos harder to build than rentals. Condos only make up about 5% of apartment construction down there, while here in Canada it's more like 50-50. The lack of condos is a problem that YIMBY groups in the US are working on fixing, but renting is not inherent to apartments. In some countries like Spain, most families live in apartments, and most of them own. To really explain the reasons you might live in an apartment, we have to separate out the building, the location, and the neighborhood. I'm here to explain from a suburb of Montreal that has a mix of apartments and houses. Here's downtown. And here's where I am. There's a REM rapid transit station just over there. There are lots of lifestyle differences to talk about that really come down to personal preference. I know people who love the yard work and maintenance of owning a house. They enjoy working on their garden, and don't even find it that annoying to mow the lawn or shovel the driveway. Personally, that's not me at all. There are 1,000 other things I'd rather be doing on the weekend. So, obviously, our basic preferences are going to be different. How much does it bother you to share walls? I hear a lot of people averse to apartments because of this, but I've personally never found it that big of a deal. How much do you enjoy shared apartment amenities like pools and gyms? Some people do more, and some people do less. But if we drill down to the most objective differences, we're talking about space versus cost. Most of these apartments are 1, 2, and 3 bedrooms. Most of them cost between $300,000 and $600,000. Most of these houses are 4, 5, and 6 bedrooms. Most of them cost $1 to $1.5 million. And of course, houses include other spaces like a backyard. Some apartments have high-quality outdoor space like a courtyard. Others have a nice high-quality parking lot, so you're relying on public parks. Houses are more consistent in the outdoor space they offer. A backyard is your space that you can set up like you want. So who might consider an apartment in this context? Some combination of smaller households, singles, couples, and families with 1 or 2 children. Households who can't or don't want to spend over $1 million, and people who don't enjoy yard work and maintenance as much. Does that mean that a standalone home is better than an apartment? Well, is a $3,000 Mac Studio better than an $800 iPad? Kinda. It is a more premium product that does more things. But if you don't care about those extra capabilities, if it doesn't fit into your budget at all, or if you actually prefer things about the iPad, like the touchscreen and the portability, to me, the cultural fixation on single-family homes as the default proper type of housing is kind of like saying that everyone needs a Mac Studio or a MacBook Pro or whatever, and then imagine we made laws limiting the number of iPads that could be sold. That is literally what single-family zoning does to apartments. Did you know that 80% of households in Canada are 3 people or fewer? If you know people who live in these large suburban houses, you'll know that it's not all because they all have 3, 4, or 5 kids. They want a few extra bedrooms for an office, for relatives visiting, and stuff like that. And I'm not really judging here. But let's not act like having multiple spare bedrooms is a basic requirement for households or even families with children to live a comfortable life. I'm even seeing a 7-bedroom house here. You miss a lot of the appeal of apartments if you just compare building versus building. That's actually the biggest thing people get wrong. Who wouldn't want a backyard, they say? Apartments have the magic power of letting a lot of people live in one location. Smartly planned cities put apartments, especially bigger ones, in desirable locations. At the edge of this neighborhood is the REM, a train that can get you downtown in 16 minutes. You can only live really close to the station if you live in an apartment. All of the people in these buildings can walk to the station in about 5 minutes, while the people further away are mostly going to be arriving by bus or bike, which is okay too, but a short walk is great. That shows up in the price. A 2-bedroom apartment just beside the station is about $600,000 versus $400,000 or so further away. You can also build apartments in other convenient or otherwise desirable locations, like on top of a shopping mall, with a nice water view, or along a beach. In Miami Beach, the houses are set back, while the apartments and the condos, and the hotels too, have the most convenient access to the beach. Unfortunately, cities can also concentrate apartments in bad locations, like on busy roads. A lot of people are drawn to apartments not for the building itself, or even for a particular location like living close to a transit station or a beach, but rather the kind of neighborhood that you can create with a lot of apartments. The walkable neighborhoods of Montreal or New York or so many cities in Europe would not exist as we know them today, without the density provided by abundant apartments. It's a lifestyle with a lot of convenience that you don't necessarily get if you're one of a few living in an apartment in an otherwise low-density neighborhood. As a result, apartments here cost more than in the suburbs, although that is partially offset by lower transportation costs. When most people live in apartments and don't have a backyard, public parks become something different. They become the main place for adults to meet up and barbecue, and for kids to play. The parks tend to be livelier, denser, less empty grass, more games, sports, pools, theaters. Even when a neighborhood isn't dense enough to be urban, having some density still helps with amenities. That suburban neighborhood had schools here, a daycare here, and actually decent bus frequencies getting you to the REM station. Would it still have all that if you took away all the apartments and fewer people lived here? Maybe not. I know what a lot of people are probably thinking. A 2 or 3-bedroom apartment would be great, but where I live, we mostly get 1-beds and even studios. Not enough to start a family. I want to save this topic for a future video. It is zoning, building codes, construction costs, changing demographics, the broader housing shortage, and more. One observation though, places where apartment living is more common and accepted tend to also build them for families. In a very real way, the experience of apartment living is better when it's more common. For families living in an apartment in Spain or Switzerland, yeah, it's not as big as a suburban house in Dallas. But we're talking 2, 3, 4 bedrooms, not studios. Quebec isn't on the same level as those European countries, but it does have more apartments, and more family-sized apartments, than most places in English North America. Here's a 3-bedroom condo for sale in this courtyard apartment complex. With the size and the courtyard, and some schools nearby, that's a pretty nice living situation for families with 1 or 2 kids. I framed this video around the apartment versus house dichotomy, but it's really a spectrum. Townhouses are in the middle. You share walls like an apartment, but you have a backyard like a house. The price and the number of bedrooms also fall in the middle. And even standalone houses can be built bigger or smaller. I picked this neighborhood because it has a mix of housing that was all built at a similar time, since 2005 or so. If you go searching in older neighborhoods around this suburb, you can find better prices on smaller, older houses, but also better prices on older apartments. The point of this video is not to try to convince everyone to want to live in an apartment, but I'm sure I'll get some, "How dare you say it's wrong to live in a house?" in the comments. Really though, people have different needs and preferences, and that's okay. What I'm responding to is a culture that sees apartments as an automatic downgrade, not even real homes. something lesser, just units. And zoning rules that treat apartments and people who live in them like pollution. Apartments can provide value to people in different ways depending on the context. They can be budget housing for households that don't need more or can't afford more. Nothing wrong with that. We need budget housing like we need budget versions of lots of things. With good planning, apartments can also be a way to live in a desirable location, close to transit, the water, the beach, a shopping mall. And finally, when a neighborhood has a lot of apartments, they can also create a different kind of lifestyle by supporting walkable amenities and lively parks and public spaces. Thanks for watching through to the end of the video. Don't forget to like and subscribe, and a special thanks to our supporters on Patreon.